Hi, class. It seems like some of you are having difficulty knowing whether or not the articles that you're finding are actually really good articles. And so one of the things that I wanted to do was to add to your lesson 3.1 and show you how to evaluate one of the websites using the SCARAB method. So again, it's in lesson 3.1 in module 3. So you can go there and read this more thoroughly, but I thought a quick example would help. So for my pregnancy advice paper, I want to look at, should pregnant people use antidepressants during pregnancy? And one of the articles that I found was from the website What to Expect. Go ahead, link to it, review it. One of the things that I wanted to just show you was what this website looks like and how I can start evaluating it. So some things just to notice, is this actually on topic, right? So is this relevant to what I'm doing? What about the author? Is this actually relatively on time? So just looking at this looks like, okay, yeah, it's very relevant to what I want. It seems like they have actually an author to it, and it seems to be within the last 3 years. So I'm going to go ahead and evaluate this. So when you're using the SCARAB method, basically it's this little chart, and it scores things from 0 to 3. I'd recommend starting at the 3 level first, just to kind of see whether or not it meets the highest criteria. And if it does, great. Go ahead and use that. So the very first one is substance. Who is its intended audience? When I've been reviewing this is definitely not written for academics or others in the profession. Instead, this is written to would-be parents or about to become parents or maybe people who are pregnant. So this is really written for the general public, which is why I scored it a 2. In this case, currency is the next one. So is the source less than 3 years old? And is it a current source of its type or on its topic, or is it a primary source? So I already know it's not a primary source. It is on that cusp of being 3 years old, right? So it was from August 3rd, 2018. So it's about 3 years old. So I'm going to say it's not, since it's not a primary source and it's on that cusp, I'm going to say that this is a 2. And it doesn't really have historical value. Updates have been noted and the original publication date is listed. Well, there's no original publication date necessarily. It just tells me when it's been reviewed. One of the things that was kind of annoying to me when I was looking through this website is that it's asking you to look whether or not the links are actually relevant and up to date. So if I click on a link here, for example, this does take me to a new web page, say the link here. But every time I did that, it was shoving me to a new page on what to expect, which kind of makes me go like, do they actually have evaluation and sources? So that, was something that I kind of was thinking about. But at least for this moment, it seems to be relatively current, and I would give it a score of 2. Authority, this was actually kind of where I did most of my research because I didn't know who Heidi Murkoff was. I've heard of the book, What to Expect When You're Expecting. I read about her. I found out that she has like organizations and foundations that work for maternal health and infant health. But something that I was curious about was like, hey, I saw that it said it was reviewed. And it took me until looking at the very bottom of their webpage where it says it's reviewed by a medical review board and team of experts. And the other thing is it says that it's on-code certified. So I decided to look into what does this mean that they're done by a review board, and they actually have a review policy where they actually have their experts that come from all of these different organizations, which are organizations I would expect for pregnancy and health. The other thing is that they do actually have sources. So that was something I didn't notice on my first pass of reading through this, but you can review the sources. The last thing that was kind of interesting is they have this on-code standard for trustworthy health information. And when you link into this, it seems like it's an organization that kind of evaluates whether or not you have good health information. And so that made me go, okay, what we're seeing here with authority is that while the author herself might be kind of a, she's an advocate, she kind of works well in this field, probably an expertise on the topic. It's really that she's backed by a lot of really good experts. And so the publisher is a credible source on this topic. So I'm going to consider that kind of more towards the publisher. So I'm going to give it a score of 2. Is this thing relevant? The information is directly related. And can it be verified in other quality, reliable sources? So when I did this, one of the first things I missed actually was the sources. So they have these sources down here, and it seems to be things that I would expect, right? The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecology. I know I said that wrong. The National Institutes of Mental Health, the FDA, and then they have a couple of articles here. And, if you actually go into them, they go to the actual websites, which is great. But one of the things that I just noticed is that these are all good sources that they're coming from. So that's why I'm giving this the highest score, because it can be verified with other reliable sources. Accuracy. So it didn't necessarily, formally cite it. And this isn't necessarily a peer review. It is peer reviewed, I guess, but it's not really an academic type article. It's not a primary source. So I would say that they are formally citing things and they're including the links, but I'm not sure whether or not it's to the standard that it would be a 3. So here I'm going to give it a 2. Lastly is bias. The main purpose is not necessarily to share research. The main purpose is really to inform. Since it's talking to a general audience, it seems to use bias-free language, for example. So overall, this total score that I got, so I add up all the scores, so 2, 4, and so on and so forth, it says that I have a possibly a good source, but better sources may be available. And I really agree with that. This may be a source that I can use to kind of get some background information, but it might be better for me to go to the actual sources themselves, right? Go to a bigger generation, or not generation. It may be better for me to go to the actual sources that they used and get the information from there, right? Just in case they made a mistake in how they were copying or thinking about this or summarizing the information. I don't want to be advertised to, unfortunately, but I think it might be really useful for me, for example, to look at postpartum depression facts, and this may be a little bit more useful or authoritative. So I hope that helped you understand the SCARAB method just a little bit more. Let me know if you have questions.